Exactly. That's also why I wanted to avoid me, Micah versus Ranger. We've already had our ZVP for the day, okay? It's
that we have as we load in here to Lightshade LE for our first ZvZ, but not the last. Most likely not the last ZvZ on Lightshade LE. We're in the bottom right-hand corner map, starting all the way in the bottom right-hand corner. We have the blue Zerg player coming out from the land of Hong Kong. He is currently teamless, so representing himself, he is GogojOey.
And spawning in the top left-hand corner of Lightshade LE, we have the Filipino Zerg player representing himself, no longer representing Team Liab Esports. He is the red Zerg going for, oh my, the pool first as well as the gas. It is EnDerr.
EnDerr's drawing first blood.
Oh, I would hope so. I didn't quite get an eye on the timings of this hatch and gas. Was it a 14 pool? Or was it a 16 pool? I didn't quite get to see.
Well, I think it was a gas pool.
Okay. I assume so as well. But yeah, with this, obviously it's very aggressive. The hatchery has been incredibly delayed here by EnDerr, and it makes sense to go for an opener like this on Lightshade because again, the rush distance by ground is very short. But GogojOey should have eyes on these things once they pop out. Oh
yeah, unless they go around, but it's actually only a couple of links for now. Okay, pulling a bit of a Micah here.
I love it. So he prioritizes his queen over the lings. Only a handful of lings. Like with this, obviously you have access to lings in case your opponent goes for a 12 pool, so you can like defend incredibly well. But this could still lead into something like a ling flood because again, ling speed is going to be very quick for EnDerr.
It really will. You know, if this queen is able to chase away the overlord, to able to take him out, the ling speed is going to the ling flood is going to completely blindside GogojOey.
Yeah, definitely 100%. That's why I'm really curious to see what this queen is going to do, if it's going to be able to chase down this overlord. Again, as you said, very Micah-esque, as ling speed is so much faster compared to GogojOey. I'm just waiting to see if links start up. Meanwhile, GogojOey, I love it. He starts his own Bailey Nest, playing very safe, making sure he doesn't die to any kind of flood. Ooh.
Yeah, a little bit of security as EnDerr goes for Banelings of his own, but again, the ling speed is going to make all the difference here. His Baneling Nest isn't too far behind GogojOey's. So we'll see if he can utilize that, metabolic boost to make up for it.
Yeah, as all the lings are flooding across the map, but did GogojOey just barely spot that with his lings? Maybe. He's making a couple of safety lings at home. He does wall off with his queens. He's also getting a third base behind this. The third base is 100% going to be cancelled, but can EnDerr achieve a little bit more than just that?
To be determined. Can delaying the third base already is some form of value, but it's not enough to satiate EnDerr. He was very invested in this ling flood. He does want a queen backing away from those banelings. His old baneling that's just finished up.
Oh god, that it has. He's morphing in banelings at home defensively to make sure he doesn't fall to a run by, opting not to morph them in across the map.
Which, I mean, kinda does make sense to me, honestly. EnDerr right now, do you really want to take any unnecessary risks and try to go for the throat against GogojOey? I feel like it's probably safer to utilize the links that you have to try to contain him for as long as possible.
Definitely. And I mean, to be fair, his third base is faster than GogojOey's because he forced that cancel. So EnDerr, he has the advantage that he wanted. Both players are going into roaches. They're moving past the Ling Bane phase. Unless GogojOey tries to, I don't know, maybe even try and deny the third base of EnDerr after his was denied. But we see that GogojOey is droning up.
And he is working on this next stage of attack. Also, range on the way. He's going to be a lot more focused on roaches this game.
Yeah, both players, +1 range is on the way, as you were saying. So, yeah, we do want to get out of the Ling Bane into the Roach Ravager. Roach is already being morphed in for EnDerr. Meanwhile, GogojOey instead prioritizes his lair.
Interesting. All right, this is going to put him at a little bit of an advantage if EnDerr is willing to give it to him, whether it's getting earlier +2 or Goliath, or even going for a Spire to harass while the ground armies are fighting. But in the meantime, EnDerr is just pumping out nothing but army. He has an opening right now where GogojOey is at his most vulnerable.
Yeah, 14 lings are on the way as well. EnDerr has stopped droning up. He didn't drone up a single, or he didn't make a single drone at his third base whatsoever. He wants to go for the kill, and GogojOey is still making more drones. And again, he's still investing in his tech. He needs an army.
But an army is not quite what he has. A lot of banelings coming out here for EnDerr in addition to all of these roaches. He's trying to pull GogojOey out of position. The banelings crash on top of those roaches, which, you know, not the most efficient use, but they do soften them up a lot. It doesn't take much for EnDerr and his +1 roaches to clean up afterwards. GogojOey really starting to lose ground here.
Yeah, the roaches of GogojOey are falling. We have 24 lings behind this, going to be rushing across the map to help support EnDerr's push. And again, EnDerr, he doesn't just want the third base. He wants to get a little bit more than this. He wants to at least clear out all these drones.
Yeah, GogojOey fighting with everything he's got right now. Roaches, queens. Hasn't quite been forced to pull the drones yet, but now it's a little too late for that as the reinforcing links come down for EnDerr. Fortunately for GogojOey, these are just 0-0 lings.
Yeah.
They're fast, but they don't hit too hard, and they can't take too many hits. GogojOey really making good use of choke points.
I think what's important as well is, again, somehow, some way, the drones have all survived. They all get evacuated as well. GogojOey, he was able to maintain his worker counts. Oh, but behind this, EnDerr, he droned up heavily as well. You know, keeping that pressure up and getting his economy, or catching up in that economy.
Yeah, now actually finally overtaking GogojOey in the worker count. Lair has finished up. Both players actually getting Galao Constitution at about the same time. So yeah, despite GogojOey going for earlier tech, EnDerr, by just delaying or just applying that pressure, keeping GogojOey's mind away from his upgrades, has been able to buy himself a lot of time where both players are on about even footing. EnDerr with a slight lead economically.
I'm just so shocked that GogojOey only lost 2 drones this game. Like, throughout the entire fight, like, he was just mining at his third. Like, he didn't even care. Like, and somehow they survived. It was crazy. Obviously, GogojOey still has that worker disparity that you were talking about. Like, he needs to drone up a little bit more. Like, it does feel like he's falling behind a little bit. I say a little bit because what he makes up for are his upgrades.
Yeah, going to be the first player to get +2. He's getting another Evo Chamber, so Carapace is on the way. Aspire as well. What are we talking about, Light? It's fine to let the roaches have a stalemate on the ground if you send Mutalisk across to mess up your opponent's mineral lines. Yeah,
exactly. This is going to be really risky here because EnDerr is making roaches now. Like, he's finished droning up because he droned up heavily before, right? He doesn't need any more workers. He's making nothing but roaches, and he's going to hit before the Spire finishes, or before the Mutas pop out, I should say.
Yeah, but how hard is he going to hit, and where? GogojOey being careful not to break through that choke point, but will leave himself pretty exposed in the third base location.
Yeah, exactly. Like, EnDerr just has so much army right now. He was hitting the third and fighting the main army at the same time. His reinforcements are kind of getting choked up at the bottleneck. Like, he's not fighting as efficiently as possible, but he is overwhelming the roaches of GogojOey.
Sometimes that's all you need to do as a Zerg player. You don't need to trade efficiently so long as you trade.
Exactly.
Especially for the player with the better economy. GG is called. EnDerr takes game #1, showing that he knows a thing or two about aggressive timings.
Oh, yeah. GG. Oh, God. And everything was happening so quickly, so I couldn't quite touch on it. Demi just mentioned it. The Bailings were huge there for EnDerr when he came in.
Were.
And GogojOey knew that. If you saw, he had 2 Bailings, and he wanted to try and, like, force the Bailings to connect with each other before they reached the roaches. But EnDerr, like, his micro was on point. He avoided that. He connected with the roaches. And again, you don't really want to be connecting Bailings on roaches, but when it comes to roach versus roach, like, any additional damage helps. And yeah, wow.
Also, you get enough Banelings on top of those roaches. You're basically just one-shotting with your own roaches to clean up.
Yeah, exactly.
So any advantage you can get.
That was crazy. And with that, EnDerr takes the first game.
Yeah, very interesting from EnDerr as well.
Mhm.
Yeah, this isn't quite a GogojOey style coming up from EnDerr, you know, where GogojOey will sort of bite and hold once he applies pressure on you.
Mhm.
He's going to keep applying pressure on you until you crumble. EnDerr, more than willing to release that pressure, you know, instead going for timings. He really seems to understand when to hit when he's at his strongest relative to his opponent.
Yeah, and so it's so risky whenever he does it as well. Like so often during that game, like he just completely cut worker production. He would fall behind in that respect, and he would focus on his army. And there's so much like hinging on the fact that he has to deal some damage, whether it's economic damage or, as we saw, even just forcing his opponent to make nothing but roaches so he can drone up himself. Like there's like it's so risky how he plays, but it worked out for him that game.
Well, you got to take some risks to become El Conquistador.
True. Very true indeed. And now we are diving into game number 2. And mates, El Conquistador himself, Napoleon Marquises Acampado, just needs uno más, mate.
Caviar Napoleon. Uno más. Momentor. Por favor. How's my Tagalog?
It's beautiful, mate. It's beautiful.
Boy bawang.
What?
It's a snack. Bawang meaning garlic. Boy meaning boy. As we continue our best of 3 upper bracket semifinals here on KBBLE Jagannatha. In the bottom left-hand corner map, starting all the way in the bottom left-hand corner, we have the blue Zerg player coming out for the land of Hong Kong, the best player from Hong Kong, and the player who we expect normally to make it to the upper bracket finals as well as the grand finals. His opponent right here, making him work hard for it. He is representing himself as he's currently teamless. He is GogojOey.
And spawning in the top right-hand corner of Jagannatha LE, we have the Filipino Zerg player representing himself, but up in this series, it is EnDerr.
El Conquistador, padre. Bawang uno, por favor.
Just stop. Oh god. Well, the attempted Spanish is hard enough to listen to. Okay, we don't need.
Rojo.
But oh my god! I forgot that he does this. I forgot that he does this as well.
I love it. Like 3 hatch before pool. The only player out there who validates me whenever I wish any player does this. Yeah, EnDerr. And you know what's the craziest thing about this light? He does this in ZvZ. Not ZVT, you know? Not ZVP, not a matchup where you normally try to psych out your opponents, normally make them see, oh, your natural is so late, oh, you're going pool first. It's like, no. He does it in ZvZ, where his opponents can can look at him for everything he is, and it's like, nope. Yeah.
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy what he's doing. No one else does this, but I recall, like, again, EnDerr was a little more active at the start of the year, and he would do this in ZvZs. I've seen him do this against players like Miyomika and GogojOey as well. It's crazy. Going 3 hatch before pool, it is so risky, but he called GogojOey's bluff because GogojOey went for a pool, went for a hatch first opening. It wasn't aggressive at all. Like, I think EnDerr's gonna get away with this.
As will I. He's gonna have so much larva behind all of this. He stopped droning as well at about 23 orc or so. Yeah, now he's focusing entirely on his links. He's catching up on the army. Bailing that's actually being prioritized here. Instead of metabolic boosts.
Yeah, it makes sense, right? Like, because of how late your spawning pool is, you need to be safe and secure in some way, and going for fast banelings like this will do the trick here in case you do get link flooded, right? There's no way you can catch up when it comes to your own speedlings in any way, shape, or form. So yeah, again, this is all very calculated by EnDerr, and it is all scouted as well by GogojOey, as he did see the 3rd base.
Well, it's scouted by GogojOey, but what does he use of this knowledge? This could very well be a first for GogojOey, left scratching his head. A lot, based on what you've seen, right? The 3rd base, the banelings, metabolic boost being researched. he could just be thinking, all right, it's going to be a Link Flood and a Bane Bus behind all of this. Maybe I should play defensive. Or, you know, maybe he is just trying to be defensive and drone up as greedily as possible. It's a lot of options right now for the EnDerr. GogojOey needs to know what's coming his way.
Exactly, like, this is where GogojOey, his experience really needs to come into play, because I'm sure he's played against this a handful of times before, but not many times, right? So he has to try and figure out what could be coming my way. What is the best response to this? He is being aggressive across the map. He's sending his links, but oh my god, no!
Oh, bit of Miyamika there. But to be fair, those Banelings ambushed the links.
They were waiting, they were hiding in the bushes, and then they finally revealed themselves, and now it's EnDerr's turn to be aggressive with his own Link Bane. He's flooding across the map. What is it to defend? There are 2 Banelings ready for GogojOey. Oh my god! Oh!
EnDerr almost pulling GogojOey.
And he does. Meanwhile, both Banelings go up, but 3 Banelings just finish up just in time for GogojOey.
Very efficient snipe there initially for EnDerr. Now it's a bit of a different story. His links are starting to flood in. Decent connection for EnDerr so far. Another very nice connection there for GogojOey.
Exactly, EnDerr. He was trying to force his own Banelings to connect with the Banelings of GogojOey, but it just didn't happen. Also, somehow, someway, both queens survived Yaku. I don't know how the hell.
Yeah. The Zerglings, come on.
Jesus Christ. GogojOey with a beautiful hold despite the kind of the blunder that happened at the start of the game.
Yeah, the wonkiness coming out the gate. I was really impressed with GogojOey's defenses throughout the series.
Yeah, he was like fully walled off here, so like the links couldn't flood into his main base or his natural, like his transfuses, and his Baneling control was on point as well. He didn't have like a big Baneling connection that went awry. Speaking of, EnDerr, he's not done, mate. He wants to keep going.
That he does. Banelings are here. Oh, good snipe so far for GogojOey. Another very good snipe for him. The Banelings have been reset for both players. GogojOey trying to get one more. EnDerr not feeling too confident in his lings. Back it away.
Wow.
Sees how many roaches GogojOey has.
Yeah, and just like that, like even though the Banelings did reset each other, GogojOey, his roaches came out just in time. GogojOey does defend his third base, and now EnDerr, he's still behind in the worker count. We were talking about this before. The way he plays is that he hinges a lot on this aggression. He cuts workers to deal damage, and this time he didn't deal it.
That he did not. GogojOey looking to reciprocate.
Yeah, exactly. The roaches are coming across the map, and mate, what is it to defend? There are roaches for GogojOey, but GogojOey, he's for EnDerr, but he's down in upgrades. He's trying to make spines now. Are they going to finish in time? Mate, the first spine is so exposed. Oh my god.
He almost killed it too.
And the Banelings are coming in. The spine goes down, and the Lings are getting surrounds on the roaches of EnDerr.
Just like so, the roaches of GogojOey getting surrounded the roaches of EnDerr. GogojOey is getting encircling EnDerr everywhere right now.
That he is. He's having a hard time breaking into the natural because that spine did finish up, but he doesn't have to commit. Instead, he's focusing down the Evo chamber. The +1 will not finish for EnDerr. Now the Lings, the reinforcements are coming in.
Yeah, anything GogojOey can really get right now from EnDerr is still going to be a net positive. Yeah, back away at any time, but he's just continuing to rally across the map. He knows it's within his grasp, especially with that carapace advantage.
God, that he is. Meanwhile, GogojOey is forced back. EnDerr, he just barely holds on at his natural base, but he's still down in workers, down in upgrades. I find this very interesting. He is opting to go for the lair, but yo, the lair's already done for GogojOey. Like, he's just ahead in every which way.
Yeah, so how can EnDerr really pull back in this game, like?
Spire.
Spire? Yeah?
It's just like how are you gonna catch up in the Roach versus Roach, right? Like, he's down in ground upgrades, he's down in Roach speed. He needs to do something else, right? But he does work on +1 range. It looks like he does still want to try and make the Roach Ravager work. Oh boy.
Well, I have my doubts, especially if he decides to push out right now.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's going to be able to clear up a couple of these roaches. Overlords. He has to be careful. As soon as roach speed finishes for GogojOey, he can start pushing out and he can try and catch these roaches.
And you know he's gonna. He knows he has the advantage there. He just kite, or not kite, the opposite of that. Starter step those roaches to infinity.
He really can. He really can. As Glyle is about to finish up, and then we can see that massive push across the map. Meanwhile, the lair did finish, and I was in the bottom of my heart, I was hoping for mutos. Like, I saw all the gases being taken, and there it is. There is the Spire.
A little bit later than we'd like, but better late than never. Well, sometimes in StarCraft 2, though, late can mean never.
Yeah, exactly. Here comes GogojOey. If EnDerr can somehow hold on here, if he can somehow stop this push, he can get his mutas, and then maybe he can make something happen. But that's a big if.
It absolutely is. Spire's not even halfway done right now. Positioning still favors GogojOey for the time being, even as EnDerr tries to split up his forces to attack with everything he's got. I believe he has a higher Ravager count. No, it looks to be about the same right now. GogojOey's roaches just will not die.
They will not make the upgrades really paying for themselves as the Roach Ravager pushes on forward. The army of EnDerr is just being whittled down. The spine will finally fall. The boys are being forced off the line. Ay, ay, ay.
The final sign of desperation here, if I have ever seen one. GogojOey doesn't even care that he's being quote-unquote surrounded. He has that much army to spare.
That he does, and it looks like Yaku, we are going to that ace match.
Hell yeah. We wanted it.
Oh, GG.
And really, if we didn't get an ace match between these two players, I would have started a riot.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. Would have happened, mate. But thankfully, that is what we are getting. GG. EnDerr, the madman, EnDerr the Odd, goes for the 3 hatch before pool. Like he's crazy.
And it didn't work. It almost worked.
It almost worked. I don't think that was his downfall that game, to be fair.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't. I feel like it was more of the decisiveness of GogojOey's defense.
Definitely was.
And tech choices.
Yeah.
And they're kind of, you know, scooching about. And that's, what's the term? There's a term for that. Not flip-flopping, but something else. Try to decide what he wanted to dedicate his resources to. Picked roaches, and then decided to go for a spire, you know?
Exactly. You know, he needed to be a little bit more, what's the term? Like stronger resolve, right? Like, you know, like he needed to be a little bit more decisive. Yeah, it works.
Yeah.
But here we go. We're diving into the ace match. We're tied up 1-1, and it all ends here on Oxide.
Una la mappa.
Sí,
Una la mappa. Uno la mappa. What's last?
Finale.
As we finale this series, this best of 3 series here on Oxide LE in the top right-hand corner map, starting all the way to the top right-hand corner. We have a blue Zerg player coming out for the land of Hong Kong, currently the best player from Hong Kong, but also teamless. So if anybody is out there, want to be looking at him, he is, of course, the Joey himself. He is GogojOey.
And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Oxide LE, we have the Filipino Zerg player. He is red, representing himself. Just making sure he wasn't doing anything crazy. It is EnDerr.
Yeah, I too saw that blimp at the natural base. I was like, is he going for it?
This time, I mean, it's one of those things that you wanna throw out, you know, once in a best of, right? More than once, then I feel like we gotta get you committed at that point, you know.
Yeah, he's doing it once in this best of 3, and by doing it once, I mean going hatch gas pool. He's lost his goddamn mind.
He's lost it, mate. It's crazy. Oh god, but that is what he's going for here. Meanwhile, so is GogojOey, so both players have kind of come to an agreement in the ace match on Oxide standard openers.
Yeah. Don't want the ace match to last anything less than 5 minutes.
It's true.
Typically, anyway.
It's very true. Unless me and Mike is in play.
Well, true, because that means we get more of an opportunity to peek inside his brain as we load into each new map.
Yeah, I mean, so far, honestly, I've had a lot of fun with this series. It's been amazing. I can't wait for more. Personally, I want to see EnDerr excel here. I want to see more of his series, but regardless, like GogojOey did show us in that previous game, like he's just such a solid player, especially in that defense. Like that was
really
crazy.
Is. Yeah, for my entirely own selfish reasons, I would hope EnDerr moves on just so we get to cast him more, but again, it is GogojOey. Turn in these upper bracket finals more than anyone else for damn good reason. So if there's anyone deserving to be there, it is him.
It is. It really is. And we'll see if he's going to be able to get there this week. 2 weeks in a row. Meanwhile, GogojOey's been so good at being annoying, just delaying this third base for as long as possible. Finally, the drone will come in, but this third is so much later compared to his opponent. Is it the biggest of deals? Not really. It will mean that the health on this base will be a little bit lower for longer, and it will be vulnerable to a Ling counterattack.
And that's actually going to be pretty important here, Lad. I was going to say, well, yeah, it's not as important because EnDerr is making a whole ton of links to try to delay the third base of GogojOey, but then, a second later, look at that production tab. GogojOey is making a whole ton of links to delay that third base of EnDerr. This is, or could potentially be a pseudo base trade. EnDerr pulls back. He's looking to defend.
Yeah, he does turn around. He wants to hold on to his third base because of how late it was, and it does look like EnDerr has the Ling advantage here.
Sandwich.
Oh my god. Yeah, exactly.
Heard the links of GogojOey, but GogojOey is actually leading EnDerr in a bit of a wild goose chase.
That he is. Meanwhile, in the middle of all that, GogojOey, he actually snuck a couple of Banelings here outside the third base, so that could come into play, but the Lings of EnDerr now go across the map, and there are no... Okay, never mind. 4 Banelings finally morph in here for GogojOey.
But they are a ways away, and they are far from being done. EnDerr, he gets a full surround on top of that third base. He splits off a couple of links to delay the links of GogojOey. EnDerr can take it. There's no queen to transfuse. EnDerr will be the player to take out that third base. Banelings roll in just after all the action. I say roll in, I meant waddle in, because jeez.
For none of these Banelings that were not a part of the fight, but now GogojOey can go for the counterattack. Meanwhile, those 2 Banelings that we saw earlier actually crashed in the main base. 6 drones did go down, so GogojOey now has the worker lead, and in come the Banelings! Oh god.
We get some connections, not quite. EnDerr has decided to go for roaches this game.
Ooh.
First play to make that decision, and it can definitely make a world of difference with his tech choice. But before all of that, GogojOey has plenty of opportunity to make a ton of links, get surrounds on top of those roaches, getting that Evo chamber, which maybe a little bit later than he would have liked, but you know, +1 melee versus roaches, you kind of need that.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of tells us right now the roach count is relatively small, so we could see us around, but we don't see a roach warren from GogojOey. He wants to stay on Ling Bane. He wants to go +1, and I imagine eventually into mutas if the game goes on that long, and there it is. There is that +1 melee.
There's still a lot that can be done with Ling Bane and +1 melee. I mean, with +1 melee, you can crash the Banelings into roaches, and it'll be even more effective.
It's true, that could happen. I'm just a little bit worried because again, GogojOey's on a timer, right? Like +1 melee Lings, they need to hit before the roaches hit critical mass, where they essentially like body block for each other, and the Link surrounds just aren't good enough.
Yeah, in the meantime though, EnDerr is just running up, being very conservative on the roach reduction.
He really is. But I kind of like this because he's getting a Baneling nest. Like this is such a big brain for him to go roaches and to have a handful of Banelings to protect the roaches from surrounds. Like he's gonna be fine against +1 Lings.
GogojOey is not gonna be making that many Banelings too, is he? So he can't really rely on, you know, move commanding his Banelings into the Banelings of EnDerr and hoping they will run a move.
Oh boy, and here we go. EnDerr, he's moving out, maybe a little bit premature. He has to be careful. He has to make sure that the Banelings aren't too far behind. He doesn't want to get caught out. He doesn't want to get surrounded by all these Lings. Uh-oh.
Ruh-roh. There's a lot of trouble. Oh, a couple of Banes being morphed right now on location, but yeah, a little too late. The roaches do get surrounded. That's a lot of Banelings actually for GogojOey, and they all get taken out by the Banelings of EnDerr, but that's kind of all GogojOey needed. In the end, EnDerr still has a couple of units left.
Yeah, and here come the reinforcements. The 4th base could go down, but bearing in mind, this is the 4th base, you know, and this is something that GogojOey can afford to lose. Unfortunately, EnDerr's push was a little bit mistimed. As we saw, the Banelings that were waddling in were so late. It was so far behind, and GogojOey goes for a run by and said, oh, but he gets caught out.
Yeah, plus one melee is helping off a little bit, but not when there are that many Lings defending for EnDerr. EnDerr trying to go for that 3rd base once more.
That he is. Meanwhile, there's only one Baneling left here for EnDerr.
Yeah, and honestly, it looked for a second that he was going to be able to take out the Lings of GogojOey, try to hurt them together. That was such a beautiful connection for GogojOey.
Hey.
He backed all those Lings of EnDerr into a corner. And
exactly.
Hey, I feel like that's just about it.
And now he's across the map. The Queen is going to fall. A couple of drones as well. The Lings of GogojOey are just superior than those of EnDerr. Oh, a couple of Banelings just barely finish up, and maybe. Oh, nah, mate. There's no way. There's just too much.
There's no way. Good game. Well played. GogojOey once again makes it to an upper bracket finals. Whew. And now, obviously, GogojOey was doing a lot of good things in that game. He was very decisive with his tech. He saw that EnDerr was committed to roaches, so he committed to Lings. He made sure he didn't overextend. He didn't get his Ling sniped. He was getting Banelings wherever he needed it. But honestly, I really do feel like that Baneling connection right at the end by that 3rd base was what secured him the victory.
Yeah, God, that was close for a while, though. Again, like that.
It was very much so.
Yeah, like I loved the push that EnDerr was going for. Maybe a little bit mistimed.
Yeah.
And the execution of the push maybe could have been a little bit better there, but
yeah, imagine if those Banelings were there at the start of the fight. Those Lings would not have gotten those surrounds. Look at how many Lings there were. It was like a straight-up swarm.
It was.
Coming down, surrounding the relatively paltry force of roaches.
The surround was huge. It was absolutely insane, and in the end, congratulations to me and Micah for taking the series. It was a hard-fought battle. It did go to the ace match, but as you were saying, once again, we are going to be getting into that famed ZvZ that we know and love, me and Micah versus GogojOey.
That we are.